Hello, everybody. My name is Cindy, and if you're familiar with this channel, then you already knew my name. If you're not, welcome. I love movies, and that is what this channel used to be. If you're an old subscriber, constant barrage, really, of movie reviews and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. I'm like rediscovering my passion for talking about film and media literacy. I wanted to hop back into this channel and really just chat about some of my favorite movies of last year. Now it's a little late. It's practically the end of the first quarter. Oh my God. And I want to share with you guys my top 10 movies of 2024. The Oscars are coming up. As of filming, they're in like a week. And as of right now, I'm just missing like 3 movies that I need to watch in order to be fully prepared for that event. But yeah, this is gonna be quite a long video, I think. And so just, put it on in the background and fall asleep to it if you'd like. Grab a snack, get your Letterboxd out, and compare your thoughts with mine. I will honestly say, though, I do have my list on Letterboxd. If you're curious, you can go ahead and follow me. I did log my top 15 favorites because I can. I'm just going to share with you guys my top 10 and really go into depth on those. And then I will do honorable mentions for those other 5 films. But yeah, I do have that list on there. Check it out. Follow me, whatever. My reviews on there are not like most other reviews on Letterboxd. They're not very substantial or really of any substance, but to me they are just kind of quick reminders of, oh yeah, that's the feeling that this movie gave me, or that's the silly vibes. So I really wanted a place where I could just voice these longer, more concise thoughts about the beauty that is cinema. Most movies that I watch, especially in the past few years, have really evoked something in me, and I love it. I love when a movie breaks my heart, or gets me excited, gets me scared, maybe nervous, maybe worried, maybe hopeful. There's so many emotions that can be evoked from watching any kind of movie. And I think whether a movie is good or bad is always going to be subjective. But I think if a movie makes you feel anything, personally, I think that the job is done. And I think that's something that's magic. If anything makes you feel anything, there's a little bit of magic in that, in my opinion. So because these are in my top 10, there's a few of these that I watched a couple of times. So I have very strong opinions, or very present feelings, things that I can say off the top of my head. A lot of it might just be me rambling. I hope it's concise and palatable and digestible, so we can get right into it. And of course, disclaimer, now these movies are so personal to me. I mean, these are not necessarily what I thought were the most amazing. Actually, no, that's a lie. I'm not going to defend my choices. These are the movies that I loved the most last year, and I honestly think were fantastic and amazing. And at least one of these, you have to have on your list, I think, right? I don't know. Everybody has very different tastes. There are some movies on here that I absolutely was completely obsessed with, that I have friends that were meh about them. So again, to each their own. I think that's the beauty of film. It's the beauty of having an opinion. So top 10 movies of 2024. At number 10, we have Anora. Now, I've watched this movie 4 times now. I recently just watched it a few days ago, and I feel like I could probably put it higher, but that's just recency bias, I will say. So I won't mess with the ranking. This ranking, I made it in the first few weeks of January. So I'm going to stick by it because those are my initial thoughts. And I think the more that I watch these, I think the ranking might change, but this is what I'm sticking with. At number 10, I have Anora. Sean Baker's style, Sean Baker's history with these type of very real character-driven films, as well as Mikey Madison's performance. I was so enamored. And I think her performance is one of the best performances, and it is so deserving of an Oscar. One of the best performances this year, as well as in recent years. I'm basing that on a couple things. I think the way her character makes me feel is a big one, and seeing her out of her character as just a human being and seeing her interact in interviews and press, she seems 100% like a completely different person than her character. So when I see that, I eat that shit up, because wow, you've really transformed and you've convinced me that you are Anora and you are Annie, and this amazing, super amazingly beautiful and flawed character. Sean Baker's style of really introducing people to characters and real people, and the environments in which they are brought up in, is so beautiful. I think it's one of the most like real styles, if that makes sense. You're really jumping into a whole new world, and I think that it's a world that envelops you with its colors, the sounds. I feel like you can even smell it. Like you get a feel for the space that these characters are living in, and are the way that they're being impacted by their environment and the people that are surrounding them. On that note, the characters, not just our protagonists, but the whole body of like the ensemble and the people that are surrounding them, everybody is completely involved in this world, and it always just gives it like a push of more. It's just interesting. It's very fun to watch because these feel very real. The dialogue is always very fun, and it's funny, and it's entertaining, and it's so heartbreaking at the same time. I think something that's so beautiful about this movie is that while I was laughing, I also cried. And at the very end of the movie, one of the final shots is Annie just looking over, and it's a beautiful shot because it mirrors a shot from earlier in the film where she's looking out this window. However, they're two very different circumstances. At the beginning, she's looking out, and I think it's sunny, it's just bright, it's like full of hope. It's really reminiscent of her looking forward to her future. Whereas at the end, it's the same exact shot. It's snowy, it's gloomy. She's coming to terms with her not so happy ending. And it's really a beautiful, I think that kind of stuff is just magical when it's a clear parallel shot with a very different undertones. And it's just, you feel it. I think there's something very deeply beautiful and tragic about those two shots, and the underlying and the parallels, the emotional parallels, and the complete juxtaposition of hope versus heartbreak. I could go on and on about this movie, but truly Anora touched my heart, and it's beautiful, it's funny, it's raunchy, it's cute, it's well, I don't know if it's cute, but I love Mikey Madison, and I think that she is a superstar. Now at number 9, I have the beautiful film Dee Dee. Now Dee Dee is a coming of age story about a 13-year-old, I think he's Taiwanese. I hope I'm right about that. He's Taiwanese, an American, and is this 13-year-old boy, and he's coming of age. It kind of just takes place in the summer before high school. Being 13 is such an awkward age. I think we all remember this. It's weird. You're growing, your body's changing, you're discovering feelings you never had before. You're excited about the possibilities of things. You're angry all the time. There's so many emotions that are absolutely enhanced at that age, and this movie was so honest, so funny. The references in this movie were absolutely bananas because it takes place in 2008, which is genuine. That is the time. That is exactly when I was in like middle school. And so everything that it was referencing was so familiar, and I felt flashbacks to when I was that age. Even though it's a boy and I'm a girl, I still remember just all of the different like ways of talking to people online. I can't believe how perfect this movie was. It was a time capsule of exactly what it was like to be a 13-year-old in 2008. Everything from the acne, the way you talk with your friends, the early social media days, the looking up how to kiss on YouTube. It all just serves as another delightful coming-of-age movie that perfectly illustrates how much we all have in common. I cried watch immediately if you were a teen in the late 2000s. I cried. I really, really did. It's not that hard for me to cry during films, I'll be very honest with you. Like I said, if you were a teen, like it's a must watch if you were a teen anytime in the 2000s. But I think it's a must watch for anybody because we were all teens at one point and we all have been growing up and we had those growing pains and it's just so sweet and beautiful when you watch a movie that can just remind you of that. And it's a beautiful, just human story. It's directed so wonderfully. The relationship with Didi and his mom is just, like I was a wreck. I really, really was. It's beautiful. There's just so much tension and I have so many feelings about the relationships between children and their parents when they're young, and particularly with moms, because it's such an intense bond that you have with your mother and, you know, mothers and daughters and mothers and sons. And there's so much tension but so much love. But where does all that love go when there's also these feelings of hatred or anxiety? And it's all just these really intense emotions that build up. And God, this movie was so perfect. It really was a delight, and I truly, truly loved it. Don't really know what else to say about this movie. I highly recommend it if you have not watched it. At number 8, okay? Number 8, I'm surprised it's not my number 1 because I talk about this movie so much to my friends. I watch it so often. I own it. I fall asleep to it. That movie is Longlegs. Now, when Longlegs came out, I was highly anticipating this movie. Like so many people who were just fans of the genre, fans of movies, were very aware of the insane marketing campaign that this movie had. Insane in the best way possible. The images, the graphics, the posters, the scary, just the quotes, people saying how it was one of the scariest movies ever, blah, 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 so on and so forth. This marketing campaign had me like this. I genuinely love horror. I love a concept, and I was so excited to see something that was potentially, you know, it's an original movie. It's not an IP. Nicolas Cage and Maika Monroe. I'm a huge Maika Monroe fan. She is one of the best actresses. I will stand by this 10 toes down. One of the best actresses of this time. And I'd love to see her in more things. I think she's very great and wonderful in horror films. And I think she has a lot of versatility. And it's just really awesome to see her in this role. Longlegs is one of those movies that I, from the beginning, the first watch, loved it. Second watch, loved it even more. Third watch, kept loving it. I have watched this a number of times now. Like I said, I'll throw it on as background noise. It is a movie that lives within me now, which is a little creepy to say because of the subject matter. There were a lot of comparisons with this movie that were made with The Silence of the Lambs. Now, of course, I do see the parallels there with there being a female detective, a female FBI agent looking for a serial killer. Very simple comparison there. However, I think that that's where the comparison ends. There is so much more to the movie than that, and I think that all lies within Nicolas Cage's character of Longlegs. He puts on such a gorgeous performance, truly scary. I think it's very artfully and masterfully done. Some of those shots are just pure gold. I think that Osgood Perkins has such an eye, a very creative eye, a very sinister eye, I would say as well, for some of those bloody shots. But I think that it sets a tone, and I just recently watched The Monkey. I actually watched it last night. That just came out with Theo James. More on that at some other point maybe. But in seeing both of those, he has a knack for setting a tone of uneasiness and just a little bit overall discomfort, which works so well for the story and works so well to push the plot along and make you really feel like you're in an environment where you're not safe and anything can happen at any moment. And this movie achieves just that. And I think that, again, when I'm completely enveloped in an environment, I'm sold. I'm in it, and I feel like you've won me over because I am here. I'm inside your movie, and I feel it all, and I'm freaked out. The cinematography, I personally think, is It's so great. There's some really cool wide angle shots, some small shots where you're seeing different frames, kind of like going back and forth. You can tell when different time periods are taking place. I'm really a fan of that. The way that the narrative unfolds, masterfully done, I would say. This is, again, one of those movies where I loved, and then I started to see some hate for it online, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess. Whatever that means. I think the more I saw the hate, the more defensive I got of it, and the more I was just like, no, this movie is really fucking good. What else could I say about Longlegs? The performances were fantastic, and everything about it was delicious. This is why this is in my top 10. It was one of my favorite movies of the year. I'm going to now get into one of my honorable mentions. I do have 5 of them. So I do want to give an honorable mention to Snack Shack. This is just a really good feel-good movie. Snack Shack, I highly recommend it. It's just 2 best friends, and there's a local community pool, and they decide to run the Snack Shack for the summer. 2 teen guys and the trouble that they get in, and just the bonds that they have. It's a really beautiful story. It's funny, it's sweet, it's a little heartbreaking. It has a little bit of everything. I actually watched this movie on a plane. Honorable mention to Snack Shack. Really, really enjoyed that movie. Okay, moving on to number 7. Number 7 is a movie that I wouldn't think that would be on my top 10 for the year, but it was a wonderful surprise, and that movie is Civil War. Now, this is a film by Alex Garland, and Civil War to me was one of the best movies that I've seen in years. I'm not usually like obsessed with these types of movies, and this movie, for whatever reason, absolutely hooked me. Well, no, not whatever reason. I'll tell you why. It was fucking amazing. The shots in this movie, I watched this thing in IMAX. Oh my God, my ears were nearly blown off. The explosions, let's just talk about what it looks like. It looks like a war zone, okay? Which rightfully so. The shots where you're getting, it's almost a horror film, and in true fashion, I think this can be classified as a horror film. It's scary. It really is scary. It's thrilling in a very scary, intense way. It's extremely tense. Speaking of, creating an environment and creating like a very tense and uncomfortable tone, that is achieved so well and so perfectly. Kirsten Dunst, Kaylee Spaney, Wagner Moura, they are amazing actors all in their own right. It's so like simple in a way. It's just these photographers, journalists, they're following the Civil War that's going on in the United States. You understand the relationships with each other and the relationships that they have with other people, the relationship that they have with the issue of war. This movie is so much more graphic than I thought it would be, and I think that was the point. Like, it really needed to shock you in order to move the story along and to really get the point across of war is nasty and bad, and it's not pretty. Jesse Plemons had 5 lines in this movie, and he had one of the most sinister roles and one of the best scenes truly in this movie. It's in the trailer, and even just seeing that, like, in the movie itself, there was so much tension and fear and anxiety surrounding that scene, and it's like, god damn, that man is insanely good. I mentioned how I would have never thought that this movie would be in my top 10. I think a large part of that is due to the marketing. It was marketed in a way that, at least when I saw the trailers and all the marketing material, it seemed like it was very heavily focused on the politics of it all, the Western forces, all the different political aspects of it. I feel like the marketing was that was the propaganda. It felt like it was very focused on that agenda, and that kind of seemed like what the movie was going to be centered around, which is why I was like, I don't know. And watching it was not that. Again, another character study. The characters are there to kind of serve, I don't know if this is a stretch. I feel like it's a mirror, because the entire movie is showing this, not glorification. I guess in a way it's glorification. It's this heavily publicized violence is, and war and fear-mongering and all of that, and it still it exists in the moment of war, in the place where war is occurring, And these people are some of these people are desensitized, and they all have their own self-interest at heart. For the most part, we're seeing that they have their own agenda. There's a hotel where there's a bunch of journalists and they're trying to figure out, oh, where do I go to get the best pictures and blah, blah, blah. And it's so like, what? Overall, it's like I said, these are photojournalists that are interested in getting the best pictures of war, which in a way you're just like, oh my God, that's disgusting. That's awful. They have no sympathy. But it really is feeding into the reality of the situation and really almost like I feel showing a mirror to us saying, this is exactly what the world is, and we want to see pictures of carnage as much as it's like a car crash, and it's a terrible comparison, but if you hear something crazy is happening, show me a picture, show me a video. I want to see what's going on. I maybe have to look away, but we want to see these things. And it's just like this American obsession with violence and carnage. And now I'm just getting really deep into it, but it's such a brilliant film. And I think Alex Garland is a brilliant filmmaker. And this is one crazy, terrifying, insane ride of a film. Oh my God, we're at number 6. So number 6 on my list is Nosferatu. I am just a girl, okay? And I love a gothic horror film, okay? I love Dracula. I had a huge vampire phase. I still am very enamored with the ideas of those gothic times. I love the idea, the concept, the whole aesthetic of vampirism, because it is something that is so, it's just like indelibly delicious. I don't know. It's something that I think is so classic. And I am such a classic horror film girly. Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman. This is exactly what I would love. The performance, all around this movie is a lot. I don't even know where to start. I'm like freaking out just thinking about the whole thing. It's streaming now, and I just got the notification today. I think it's on Peacock, and I need to watch it right now. You guys, my camera just died because I was yapping for too long. The visual impact that this had, and this has on cinema, there is so much to be said about the image of the hand over the entire city. There is nothing that is more satisfying to me. There are very few things more satisfying to me than that shot. The use of shadows in this movie is absolutely banana bonkers. Eggers has made a beautiful, freaky, scary, cool, interesting, intense, beautiful, again, gothic horror film. I think Lily Rose Depp is an insanely talented actor. I saw the first episode of The Idol, and I watched that episode thinking, God, this show is not amazing, but oh my God, Lily Rose Depp is. And I saw it. I could see it. I watched The King too. Her role in The King is very small, but she is definitely somebody who has this really innate talent and a really good face for like emotions and showing expressions, and just she has this energy that is so palpable and translates so well on screen that it's so fun to watch her, because I feel like she's so versatile. She could do funny, she could do sad, she could do intense, she could do love, fear, horror. She can do it all. And I feel like without her amazing performance, the movie wouldn't work as well, because the movie is directly a relationship between Nosferatu and his draw to Elaine, and why he's so drawn to her, and this deep connection that they have, and this quote unquote love that binds them. And it is so heavily reliant on them having this pull and connection and having this magnetic like relationship also with the audience, because ultimately if we're not drawn into what they're giving us, then it's just not going to work. Nicholas Hoult, Emma Corrin, Aaron Taylor Johnson, these are like insane. Willem Dafoe, an insanely stacked cast giving these mad performances. I personally do see it as a love story. I do. I see it as this epic love story, of course, between Elaine and her husband, and then this story of love between her and something else. But it's her yearning for something to come, like help her, to just come to her. And it's this deep, deep yearning and longing, and I think that that's mimicked on the other side with Nosferatu, and having these years of loneliness, finding and picking up this victim essentially to prey on, but realizing that he also longs for this same thing, and they're longing for these things that aren't connecting with each other, because she's not longing for him, she's longing for something else, he's longing for something, and he finds that in her. So much yearning. Oh my God. Thomas's journey with Count Orlok, the oh my God, I'm like gonna cry. The camera shots as he is, like, you see the carriage. If you've seen it, then you know. If you haven't, then please go watch it. It's streaming now. Just the shots of him making his way to Count Orlok are some of the best that I've seen, and just made me go like, oh my God, I'm gonna cry. Truly some of the most beautiful cinematography that I've seen. I'm getting emotional. I promise you, like, I'm gonna cry. I'm losing my mind just thinking about those shots and how gorgeous, and the snow, and it's like, it's so peaceful, but there's this evil, it's looming and lurking. It's tragically beautiful. Bill Skarsgård. God, I love Bill Skarsgård. I could not see Bill Skarsgård in Count Orlok, which is great. Much to be said about the costume design and the makeup and the prosthetics and everything. The voice, oh my God, the voice. A beautiful staple for gothic horror fanatics, and I hope that, you know, the girlies out there feel the same way. Some people might not have enjoyed it as much as I did. Very freaky, and I think that that's good. Like, there's so much to be said about freaky movies from last year. And, you know, I'm talking like horny freaky, right? Because that is a part of the human condition and human nature. And it is there's so much to be said about that and explored about that. And I think, again, this is to be said a lot, but like, Americans are so they're so taboo when it comes to talking about sex and just bodies and nudity, and oh my God. And thankfully there are some very interesting movies that can dive into it in a very mature way and a very interesting way where it's not gratuitous, and it can really make you think about some stuff. More on that later when I have another honorable mention. I think that the freakiness in this movie is really well done. Like, it's so good, and there's this really like guttural, intense emotions that a lot of the times need to be expressed through your body and through your sexuality. And again, I don't want to necessarily spoil, but these scenes with Count Orlok and Elaine are, dare I say, beautiful? I don't know. Oh my God. Am I wrong for saying that? I will say the final scene of that movie, just that final shot, is, I think, one of the most beautiful shots that I've seen in modern film. Call me crazy. Most beautiful and most romantic for many ways. Elaine really loved her husband, and I think that she really showed that at the end. You guys, I'm going to get into another honorable mention because we're about to hit our top 5, okay? Strange Darling. Okay, Strange Darling, what a freaking movie. Willa Fitzgerald, Kyle Gallner, my horror prince, horror king, really, if you will. What an amazing man. Insane performance. So slept on. Fell in love with him when I first watched the reboot of Nightmare on Elm Street, and fell in love with him once again watching Jennifer's Body. I love the non-linear storytelling in this movie. It's so tense. It's so cool, and it keeps you guessing. And it's like, if you want something exciting and a little bit sexy, but a little bit scary, and just really fucking awesome performances, Strange Darling is 100% a fantastic movie. I loved it. I think it's a really creative movie, and I love a creative movie. I love when things are just different and not, you know, it's very original, and I loved it. Another honorable mention, Furiosa. Anya Taylor-Joy is a force, and we know that. We've known that. My favorite thing, and I think this is where the crowds will part. They're a little bit divided on this, and that is Chris Hemsworth as our villain. I think he kind of killed it. I really am a fan of him in villainous roles, and I think that this character was so Looney Tunes cartoony, over the top, and just like insane. And I kind of love an unhinged villain, and he just really did that for me. So I think that it has a really cool dynamic between the two. The rest of the characters, the world building, I'm a big fan of the Mad Max world. I loved Mad Max Fury Road. I genuinely love this movie because I think the action was really good. This was just a big movie. It was massive. And again, now it's been a while, so I'm a bit disconnected from it, but really like remembering it and thinking about the feeling that I had in the theater, I remember walking out saying, this was my favorite movie. Like, this is going to be my number one. Close. It wasn't my honorable mentions because a lot more shit came out after that, but I had a blast, and it was a fun time, and it was so over the top and crazy. And like I said, the way it made me feel is like, it's hard to explain, and not many movies can make me feel that way. This one just felt big, massive. I love cheering on Anya Taylor-Joy. She was so good. I think she's just a big part of what makes that movie. She is the main part of why that movie works, as well as these amazingly coordinated fight sequences and just long shots of action. And oh god, it's so good. It's fun. Damn it. Furiosa. Amazing. But let's get into my top 5, okay? Number 5. I'm not gonna sing. I am holding back from singing because my number 5 is Wicked. This I could probably talk for about 13 hours. Okay. Backstory.
I love Wicked. In general, I kind of was first exposed to Wicked in high school drama class when we would watch kind of clips of the Broadway show. And I was like, oh, cool, like, I like musicals. I would just play, like, Popular and Defying Gravity constantly. Defying Gravity is like a song that would every now and then just be playing in my house, and I would be screaming it, particularly in the shower. Popular is a duet that my sister and I would often do. That's the background, okay?
So now you take that and you put this amazing film and these amazing stars in this beautiful, beautiful like world, and you put it on a big fucking IMAX screen. Yes, I'm going to cry my heart out, freak out, and just lose my mind and go batshit crazy. The story itself, like, you have the source material that is so great, and whether or not you're a hater of musicals, or you think that, oh, it's a girl's movie, or it's, oh my god, it's Ariana Grande, like, who cares? Bro, get over yourself. This is one of the best movies of the year, hands down. I don't even think this is an argument. This is so beautifully told, and I think a lot of the differences from the stage play like translate so well into the film, and I think they're needed. So there was some creative liberties taken there that I think just work so well, and to that is a testament to the beautiful magic that is this crew and John Chu. Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande were the perfect people to play this, and I can't even imagine what it would have been like without them. They truly embody these characters of Elphaba and Glinda, and the voices. Again, you guys, casting singers and trained singers, actual singers, to be in musicals is like the move. And I think we've seen that. We see this. And these are two of the best vocalists that currently are around, and their voices together. It's you. Speechless. This movie has had such a cultural impact. These two characters that are so beautiful and beloved and have their flaws and have their amazing strengths and work so well together, we're introduced to them. And God, if like we're getting Wicked 2 this year, which is already a treat because we're only getting these two movies like 1 year apart. It's visually stunning, and I think that everybody in this cast, and they've really given life to these characters. Jonathan Bailey, my God, if the entire movie theater didn't just start dripping out of their seats, that sounds crazy, but I'm not exaggerating. Every single time I went to the theater, and I saw it a few times in the movies, there's the collective sigh. It's just the Jonathan Bailey effect. It's wild to experience. Wicked is truly a cultural phenomenon. Award-winning Broadway musical that has been revered and loved for so long. There's a reason why it's so impactful, why it's so revered and praised often. And it's not just hype. It truly, the storyline is fantastic. It's so entertaining and it's so magical. And anything really with the world of The Wizard of Oz, there's so much you could do. And it again, magical. Those movies honestly save lives sometimes. Like these stories, these musicals mean so much to people. And God damn it if Wicked doesn't mean a lot to me, because yes, I am so alpha bud. I'm gonna start crying. You guys, we're at top 4. We're at top 4. I promise we're almost done. My number 4, Late Night with the Devil. Now, I think I already have, I feel like I've ranted about this. I don't know if it was an ASMR video. Late Night with the Devil, okay? This movie, it's starring David Dastmalchian, who, oh my gosh, leading man. Like, truly, you see him in so many movies. He has a capacity to carry a movie, and it was shown with this. So I really hope he gets the opportunity for a lot more leading roles like this. That being said, this was one of the scariest movies I'd seen in a long time. I don't know how many people also feel this way. It's definitely a creepy movie, but for me, I felt really fucking scared. I actually, it was a whole thing. Leaving the theater, I was so uneasy. I saw, I don't even remember. I feel like I heard a creepy song on the radio driving home. I saw weird number. I don't know. So there was already a few things happening on my way home. And then I got home and I could not fall asleep. Okay. It's very rare when I get nightmares or really scared from a movie. You know, some people are like, I can't watch a scary movie at night because it'll just keep me up, or I have nightmares, or blah, blah, blah. Not me, girl. I love a scary movie. I fall asleep to Long Legs. Okay. I love that. This movie affected me, and I don't know why, but it was so good. To this day, I'm gonna be very frank with you, I have not rewatched it. I've wanted to though. I've wanted to. It's in my top 4 and I have not rewatched it. It's streaming too, and I want to watch it, and I want to put it on for my parents and watch it all together. You know what? I probably will very soon. But I remember getting home, I couldn't fall asleep, and I woke up. I kind of dozed off, and I woke up, girl, at 3 a.m. Girl, that's the devil's hour. Isn't that what they say? So that, I literally felt like I was shaking in bed. I was really freaked out. I do believe in spirits and stuff like that. So I was like, damn, this is not okay. Mind you, this movie came out, if I recall, early in the year. The opening weekend in the US was March 2024. So I watched it back in March, basically a year ago. And from what I can remember, okay, it has to do with cults, which I love. There's a little bit of cultiness in there. There is a little bit of demons in there, a little bit of devil in there. There's a lot of dark shit, okay? Let me talk about the beauty of the filming. I don't recall who the director is, but the style that they did this in, it's basically this talk show host, and it's this evening. It kind of takes place within one evening of a live taping of a show, and it starts to get spiritual because he's gonna talk to this girl who supposedly was possessed. Okay, very basic overview. If you haven't watched it, check it out if you're into something creepy. It feels like a very intimate movie. For parts of it, you're watching the movie as if you're a part of the studio audience. And then for other parts, you're kind of backstage. And then other parts, you're seeing it with like the camera. So it's a bit of a grainy camera because I believe it takes place in like the 70s. So it's very stylistic. And I think that's one of the big things for me. It was very unique in the way it was shot. The switches between like talk show cameras, imagine you're watching like the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. There's different shots for the cameras, and then they can pan over to the audience. So we have that setup, which is really, really cool. So it's already like a built-in setup, and they could use those cameras for the movie itself. And then there's backstage, where there's kind of like more of a moving, like a handheld camera, making you feel really immersed, like you're right there with the characters, as opposed to watching it on a screen. Now, the style in which it was filmed is I think, like I said, main driver for it being so high up. It was so unique, crafted really well. The script and the dialogue makes you feel very uncomfortable at times. It feels real. It feels like we're watching this talk show and watching these people interact with each other in real time, not scripted. It just feels like they're having these conversations, and it feels really tense at times. And it's another one of those movies that creates an atmosphere of uneasiness, and it consistently just makes you feel more uncomfortable the further you're going along, because you're learning more things about this main character and the relationship that he has with, these spiritual figures and potential demons in his past. And you're learning more about this girl that has been possessed and the relationship that is that it has the past that they have, if that makes sense. I don't even know. I feel like I'm rambling. Again, I saw this movie nearly a year ago, and I have yet to rewatch it because I was that scared. But I love it. Like it was so wild. I walked out of it, and it stayed with me for days. And I think I mentioned a little bit before about original ideas. This is one of those movies that it's so creative, and I yearn for creative and original concepts. When I see that a movie is completely original, or it seems like it's a creative take on something, I jump to that, because it's kind of the excitement of seeing like the new things. It's discovering something new without rehashing old shit. And I know a lot of the times people don't like to reinvent the wheel because it's just more exhaustive, and what's the point if something already works really well? But then we just want to get new inventions, and like we wouldn't have these amazing visionaries. And I think that some of the directors and the writers that are making these original concepts and really cool original movies, whether or not they get the critical acclaim, whether or not the projects are even good, I think that these are visionaries because they're leading the way and creating new things. And I think that creating is what keeps us going. And oh my God, now I'm just rambling. This movie's really good. It's really scary, and not in a jump scare kind of way, but in a really good way that keeps you tense and uncomfortable, and it really just has a really cool ending, I would say, and almost a little bit tragic and a little bit like, damn. So, Night Night with the Devil, man. My third one. Now this is a movie. The other two, fantastic and amazing, but I don't think I have as much to say as I do about number 3. And number 3 is The Substance. This is a movie, okay? This is a movie that now I have watched 3 times. I love this movie, and I love the director, Coralie Fargeat. She's French. I don't know. I recently watched her other film called Revenge, and I saw actually a lot of parallels between the main character in that movie and Sue in The Substance, and I think there's something really cool. I feel like she made Revenge, and then this movie, she really elevated her stuff, and she has a lot of, you could see inside of her brain. She's really dope, and she has some unique and very creative ideas. Back to creative visionaries, she is one, and I think that she needs to win awards, a lot of them, for directing, because she has such a unique vision, and the visuals in The Substance are some of the best I've ever seen in my entire life. The story is my favorite. As a woman, God, I love a story about flawed women. I love watching movies about just like women that are flawed and tragic and messy, and I will eventually make a video on all that because I love female rage. Female rage films and female rage on screen is so refreshing, and this movie is so refreshing to me. In a way, it's exploiting the very real pressures that there are in modern days of being a woman, and this constant pressure of remaining young, beautiful, and desirable. This is a topic that I will scream until the end of time. Just the society that we live in. Oh my God, not me talking about society. As women, we are made to feel like as soon as we turn 30 years old, we're expired. We turn 40, forget about it. What are you still doing around? Die already. And we are very expendable. You see it all the time. You'll see movies. The older the actor gets, the younger the girlfriend gets. And it's so stereotypical. And I'm so sick of it. And I'm just like, this is so boring. Give me something good and something real. And I love to see a woman age. I really, really do. Because it's something that sometimes it's rare, and sometimes it's just like I'm so over constantly seeing a 20-year-old with a 40-year-old on screen when it's a 20-year-old woman and a 40-year-old man. I love a 40-year-old woman with a 20-year-old man. Show me those movies. And I have seen those, and I saw many last year, and I was very happy, and I'll get into Baby Girl in a second. Trust me. Now I'm getting really heated. I feel like I started out this video really chill, and now I'm just getting really insane, and maybe by this point I've lost you, but The Substance has given me hope of just movies in general. It is a true body horror movie, and in that, I think that seeing the practical effects. I did watch the behind the scenes. It was like a 30-minute video. I think it was on YouTube, and it's the director and it's the crew, and it's all of them working together to make these effects come to life. And that just in and of itself, I feel like needed to be shown to the Academy. And yes, this movie deserves wins, and so does Coralie, because it is so cool to see practical effects. Margaret Qualley is another one of the best actresses that we have right now. There's a lot of amazing actresses working that were in films last year. She's amazing in this role, and to me, she's a scene stealer, and to me, she 100% got snubbed for the Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress, and in my opinion, she should win the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. That's all I will say on that. Demi Moore, phenomenal and so wonderful, and she is nominated for Best Actress. Great for her. They're really good together as two parts of a whole. If you haven't watched Substance by now, I don't know what to tell you other than please go watch it. It is a mind fuck. It truly just it bends so many. It's so, I think I've said the word insane more times than I should have in this video, but that's exactly what this movie is. We will kill ourselves in the search for a better version of ourselves. And there is something that I love movies that explore that about self-hatred and women hate. I think that that's something that I like to see explored, because I can't remember I think it was in the Barbie movie actually, and Ariana Greenblatt's character says something along the lines of, yeah, men hate women and women hate women too. And it's like, yeah, it's so fucked to think about it that way, but it's so true. Men do hate women, and women will hate on each other. So where is the love? Truly, where is the love? And we have to strive to, and it's just this innate thing. It's awful. It's terrible. And it's we want to uplift each other and women supporting women and blah, blah, blah. And I think a lot of the times it's all so fake and it's so contrived, and it's not coming from a place of genuine love or support. It's kind of something that you feel like you have to put on. You have to put on this performance of, yeah, I support women, but as soon as there's a woman that feels like a threat to you, or a woman that you think is intimidating or interesting, then there's this human nature. It's crazy. You start to get territorial or defensive, or finding flaws, and it's so crazy how we pick each other apart. And it's like, I'm not a man, so I don't have that point of view, but I don't think that is the same case for men. I don't necessarily see men being catty towards each other. So why is it that we are like this with women, and we feel like we have this need to compete with each other? It's like a need to compete with each other, but also a need to compete with ourselves, and constantly hating ourselves and barraging ourselves with, or like just getting bombarded with images of what essentially is still self-hatred, when it's like, you want to be younger, you want to be thinner, you want to be smarter, you want to be prettier, you blah, blah, blah. All these things are constantly attacking you, and you do all these things to try to fix it, but it just makes things worse. It's the same scenario as in nowadays. If, oh my God, you have wrinkles, gross. Oh my God, okay, fine, I'll get injections. Oh my God, they're gone. Oh my God, you have Botox pillow face, gross. When will we be able to just exist? My rant is over, I think, for now, but this movie is so great because there's so many layers to it. Visually, it's a masterpiece, and mentally, it's kind of a mindfuck, and it really gets you thinking. There's much to be said about what the lengths that women will go to be somebody that they think they need to be in order to be accepted, and it's sad. It really is. And it's nice to have those conversations, and hopefully, things change and whatever. This movie was amazing. Okay, I'm going to try to quickly shout out my other two honorable mentions. One of them being Love Lies Bleeding. Now, this movie, amazing. Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien. Again, this movie also came out like earlier in the year, if I remember. I love the tagline, "Revenge gets ripped." This movie is so cool and bizarre, and it takes a really weird turn, but for the best, I think, at the end. There's like these weird sort of like surreal shots in this movie that make you feel like am I seeing things? Am I not? And they're done so well. The story is really intense. Best way that I can sum this up is from this Letterboxd review from #1 Gizmo fan. Some of y'all are gonna hate this, and some of y'all are gonna be on the right side of history. 100% I agree. I love a lesbian movie. I'm gonna just be honest. I think there's just something very, it's more interesting for me. I don't know. I love to see again, going back to just like women relationships, and whether those are platonic or romantic, I find them more interesting because there's so much to explore. As women or female identifying, like there's a lot of complexities within that, and emotions and self-hatred and concerns and just like insecurities and whatnot. So I always find relationships between women on screen to be just very interesting, and they make for more interesting movies. Oh, is that controversial? I don't know. I love Kristen Stewart. I truly do. And this is probably one of her best movies. It's interesting. It's tense. Ed Harris is really good in this movie. It's really a little bit anxiety inducing. I think this movie was so good, and it was really cool. And I truly loved this movie. Love Lies Bleeding. It was cool. It was a bit of a surprise for me. Like I was looking forward to it already, and I watched and I was like, damn, that is not what I expected. Before I get into my last honorable mention, I'll just quickly get into my number 2. That was Dune. Dune Part 2. I almost don't want to get into a big discussion about this movie because I think it almost speaks for itself. This was a big movie. Watching Timothée Chalamet ride that worm, I felt like nothing I'd ever felt. Like I cried again. I cried. When haven't I cried with all these movies? It was magical, and I felt a presence so beautiful. I can only describe this movie as big. Like, it is a big movie. It's a spectacle. It's amazing. Well, the first one was entirely It was character not development. I think it's just character introducing and a lot of world building. We see more development of characters in the second one, and we see a lot more action. And I was really on board. I loved the first one. Absolutely loved the second one. I think merely for the fact that this is the scale on which this is filmed. It feels like art. Like I'm watching art on a screenplay, and it is like beyond what one could imagine. I can't imagine like years ago when the first Dune came out, like them imagining this on screen. It's just like we've come so far. I'm losing my voice. Dune Part 2 is truly a work of art, a masterpiece. Denis Villeneuve was completely snubbed of a Best Director nomination for the Oscars. I have a lot of feelings about this year's Oscars. And this movie is one of the greatest movies, I think, of our lifetime. Whether or not you're a fan of the Dune movies, you cannot deny that this movie is beautifully made. I don't know if necessarily I think it's better than the first one, but it is more exciting. I think a lot of the action lies in this one. And seeing this character development, seeing Timothée Chalamet in his element, the guy is so good. He is a silly guy in interviews and in real life, but damn it, when he is on screen, he will like kill it. Dune Part 2, top 2, number 2 movie for me of last year. I'm going to get into my last honorable mention before I jump into my number 1. And this one I'm almost scared to jump into because I think I could make this is another movie that I could make an hour-long video about. Baby Girl, okay? Now, this movie might divide some people. I almost had it in my top 10, but Anora beat it out because it's Anora. Baby Girl meant so much to me, and I don't know how to explain that without sounding like a complete horny freak. There is so much magic in this film, and let me say once again, I cried watching Baby Girl, okay? Not a huge spoiler or anything, but there's a scene, if you watched it towards the end, I think with the context of everything that comes before it informs this scene. And it's Harris Dickinson and Nicole Kidman. And it's Harris Dickinson hugging her and saying, "You're my baby girl." Tears out of my eyes, okay? I cried. There is so much, again, about women and self-hatred, the desire to find happiness and the desire to feel loved and wanted. There is so much to be explored in Baby Girl about this. This is a woman who is unhappy in her marriage. She doesn't have a bad marriage. There's really no reason for her to be unhappy. She's just deeply unsatisfied physically. And she has these desires, these sexual desires that she finds to be very shameful. And she's able to experience them and explore them with this younger man. And it's so electric. These two performances, these two actors had this amazing chemistry. The script, I think, is actually beautiful. Like, there's so much, and it's interesting. Like, it's very cool. Like, there's drama, there's intrigue, there's a little bit of humor, and it feels so real, okay? The interactions that these people have feel so authentic, and sometimes that's rare when you're playing these characters that are very like romantic, or there's no romance, I'll be honest. It's very physical. There's a really cool line in the movie which Harris says something about them being like, "Oh, we're just kids in a playpen," or like, "We're kids in a sandbox," or something. Yeah, they're just playing, like they're discovering these things or having these experiences, and they're just kind of like going with the flow. The nature of their relationship is so playful and, again, very like wrong. Like, she feels these desires and she's scared to let anybody know because she's scared to feel judged or that somebody wouldn't want her because of like these things, and she feels that there's something wrong with her, but there's nothing wrong with her. She has these needs, these desires, this want to experience these things outside of herself, and to feel this pleasure that she is just like feeling very nervous to even enter anything with Harris Dickinson's character. And he's just there and willing, and they're able to explore this freaky relationship. I love it. And I think that there's beauty in it, and there's like really heartfelt moments and really interesting like moments of self-reflection, at least for me. There's like moments of uneasiness from both parties, and I think that's how it would naturally unfold. I'm just assuming, but I had a great time with this movie. I watched it in a pretty packed theater. I watched this movie on Christmas Day, okay? I'm Mexican, so we do all of our stuff on Christmas Eve. And then Christmas Day, like I had a really fun morning with my family, like Christmas breakfast, we did stockings, and then like later I was like, okay, peace, and I went to go watch Baby Girl by myself. And the theater was packed. Like it was lit. It was lit. And then I went and I ate Japanese food with my family, so it was a really fun day. Baby Girl. Baby Girl. I will be rewatching very soon because I think it's beautiful and it's freaky in a very honest way. I just need to let you guys know my number one movie of last year. And this movie, oh God. I said it earlier about how I love an original movie, and there are a lot of original movies in my top 10. But my number one is not. My number one was Alien Romulus, you guys. I know. I gave a lot of time to the other movies, and this one, I've lost my voice already, so I won't say anything. No, but actually, this movie evoked so much in me. It was scary. Scarier than I thought it would be. I was just interested. I love the Alien movies. I was just like interested in seeing a cool Alien movie, and they are scary, but there was something insane about this one. Insane about watching this in theaters. I have back there that little green light that you can't even see. It's like the popcorn bucket that I got from Regal, and the head, the xenomorph that's from the Alien movie. It was so fun. I haven't had that much fun. And like that was one of the movies that I had the most fun in to experience in a full packed IMAX theater. Everybody was on the edge of their seat. I watched with my family. There was friends in the theater. It was just so much fun. It was exciting. It was really scary. Honestly, it was tense. The characters, the relationships between everybody did so good. Kaylee Spaney, oh my God, the second movie that she's in 2 of my top 2 movies this year. She is so great. I love her in this action role. I think her as a protagonist in this action role, she is so good. She's so sick, and she's like quickly becoming a very interesting person for me to look forward to in films. I think I solely base this on it really is the movie that I had the most fun at this year. It was exciting. It was thrilling. I've watched it a couple times. Like now I've put it on in the background. It's a really fun, exhilarating movie, and some people maybe weren't a fan. I loved it. And with that, I have to end this video because I'm losing my voice. I'll wrap this up with saying last year I watched some amazing movies, and it was really fun. I'm glad to share my top 10, basically top 15 movies with you guys. And it's a little late. It's already like the end of February, but it's okay. It's still the beginning of the year. It's still Q1, you know? So we're fine. I will be making more videos and long form videos because I believe in long form media, and I've been taking in a lot of long form media lately and on a lot of cool topics, and it's been really fun for me to listen to people just talk about things that they're passionate about. So I hope at least one person out there thinks this is interesting. Right. So thank you guys. Thank you whoever watched, and yeah, I hope this was interesting, and stay tuned for the next one. Bye.